Hello everyone, my name is Mrs. LaSalle, and over the next couple of days I'm going to be making some math videos for you so that we can practice some different math ideas. So first of all, just a little bit about me. That is a picture of me, and so just so you know what I look like, I'm not just a voice. I actually was a math teacher. I taught for 14 years at Lawrence Jones Middle School, and I taught for the last 5 years at Rancho Cotati High School, and this year I am a curriculum specialist with the district office. So I know many of your teachers, and I also know a lot of the high school math teachers. So we are going to go over today adding and subtracting integers, because this is something we need to be really solid on. I know that when I even taught Algebra 2 to juniors and seniors, we did have to do a little reminder. So the more that you practice it now, the easier it's going to be as you get into higher mathematics. So as you're going through this video, if you need to pause it to write stuff down, please do so. For instance, if you want to pause it right now and draw some number lines, go for it. Okay, so we're going to get into some integers. Now, I know some of this is going to be review for some of you. For some of you, it's a good reminder. For some of you, it might feel like the first time that you've seen this. That is okay. Wherever you happen to be is just fine. We want to make sure that all of you are getting a little bit better at this every single day. So first, let's just talk about a normal number line. So our center is 0. If we look to the right, those are our positive numbers. And if we look to the left, those are our negative numbers. Something to notice, they are like mirror images of each other. So it goes to the right, 1, 2, 3. Goes to the left, -1, -2, -3. When you get into geometry, it's going to be very important that you notice that this is a mirror image. The number line is a mirror image of itself, because you will be using that in your geometry class, and you will even use that in your Algebra 2 class. Okay, so let's do a couple of problems. As I'm going over them, I'm going to draw them on the number line. You need to be drawing them on the number line too. So you're taking notes right now, no matter how much of a refresher or new topic this is, you're going to be writing some notes. Okay, so we have 2 minus 5. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start by going to 2. So if I start at 0, I'm going to go to 2, which is right here. So I went to the right to get my 2. Hopefully that kind of looks familiar. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 5. So subtracting 5 means from where I was, I'm going to go to the left 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to land right here. And I'm going to get an answer of -3. So I went to the right 2. And then I went to the left 3. So our 2 is positive, which is the right-hand side of the number line. Our 5, our minus or -5, is on the left because our negatives are on the left. Now, this is a subtraction sign, but it can also be a negative sign. Those words are interchangeable. You can think of it as either. I'm going to say it as either, and you can think of it as either. That's a -5 or that's a -5. It's the same thing. Okay, so let's start off with -1 plus 4. So first I'm going to go to -1, which means I'm going to go to the left 1. So I went to the left. Then I'm going to add 4. So from my -1, I'm going to go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I ended up with a 3. Okay, so I ended up at +3 for that one. Our next problem, number 3. So first I'm going to go to -1. So I'm going to go to the left 1. So I went to the left 1. I'm just kind of putting my arrows for which direction I went at the top. Then I'm going to go to the left 3 again because I'm subtracting 3 more. 1, 2, 3. I ended up at -4. So this one is a -4. Now for number 4, I'm going to start off at -3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. There's my -3. And then I'm going to subtract a -1. So the subtraction makes me think that I would again be going to the left. But then this other sign would also be the left again. So it's actually going to undo what I just did. So these kind of counteract each other. So a minus a negative actually becomes a plus. So two negatives become a positive. So if this first sign's telling me to go to the left, and then the next sign's telling me, wait, turn around, these two together become a going to the right. So this actually becomes -3 plus 1. So I'm going to go to the right 1, and I'm going to end up at -2. This problem is really saying -3 plus 1. Okay, same thing with this problem. Number 5, very similar. If I first start off at 1, and that is a positive 1. Oh, hey, I lost all my numbers on the very bottom. Let me just fix that really quickly. Let me copy and paste that. That's pretty funny. Okay, so if I'm going to start off at positive 1, I'm going to go to my 1. I move to the right. And again, right here, I'm going to go to the left. Just kidding. Turn around and go the other direction. I'm going to go to the right. So I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to end up at 3. So this problem really just became 1 plus 2, because if I'm going to go to the right, that means it's a positive. So that's really 1 plus 2. Okay, and then -2 plus -3. So first I'm going to start off by going to -2, so that is to the left. So 1, 2. Then we have yet another 2 numbers. Now, adding normally goes to the right, but I'm going to do the opposite, do the subtraction. So I'm going to go to the left again, and I'm going to go to the left 3, and I'm going to end up with a -5. So this was really the same as -2 minus 3. Those are exactly the same problems. So we'll be getting into like those, talking about those in just a little bit more to make sure that we're super clear on that. What do we do when there's 2 signs in between? So while we're going over these problems, what I'm going to want you to do is box the terms, which is very much what I was just doing for numbers 1 through 6. So we're going to box them, and this is going to come in handy on the next lesson when we do combining like terms and we add another layer to a problem, to these types of problems. So if you know how to box the terms and see how to get the answer, it's going to be very helpful. So what I mean by boxing the terms are the individual numbers. We'll eventually get into numbers and variables or letters. So the first term on this one is a 10. So put a box around that, please. This one is a -15. Remember, minus and negative are the same thing. So let's look back up at our previous problems, because this is like a positive number and a negative number. So when I was up here on problem number 1, that was a positive number and a negative number. Well, when I got this answer, I ended up with a -3. So let's see how we did this. First, we went to the right 2. And then we backtracked and went to the left 5, and we ended up with a -3. So is there another way, if we didn't always just want to do the number line, that we could have figured this out? There is. Think about if I went to the right 2 and then I went to the left 5. So I'm going in opposite directions. Well, I went to the left further because I went to the left 5. And how many to the left further did I go? I went to the left further 3 spaces. If I were to subtract 5 and 2 to figure out their difference, 5 minus 2 is 3. And since I went to the left further, I have a negative as my answer. So let's see if we can translate that to what we just did here. So I have 10 positives and 15 negatives. So these are different signs. I would go to the right 10, but then I'd end up going backwards to the left 15. So I went to the left more. So I went to the left more than I went to the right. And how many more did I go to the left? I went to the left 5 more times. If I were to subtract 10 and 15, I would get a difference of 5. Okay, problem number 8. So let's box our terms. -3 and -12. So if I think of my number line, I would go to the left 3 and to the left 12. Well, those seem to be working together. They're going in the same direction. So let's see if one up here that went in the same direction. Number 3 worked together. So on number 3, we first went to the left 1, and then we went to the left 3 more because they're both negatives, left, left. Well, that means that we got a -4 because we just add them together. If I went to the left 1 and then the left 3 more, I went to the left a total of 4 spaces. So when the direction or the sign is the same, I can just add those together. So if I went to the left 3 and then the left 12, I went to the left a total of 15 spaces. Okay, number 9. Let's box those pieces. We have a -7 and a +9. So this is going to be very similar to number 7. So -7 means to the left, but +9 means to the right. We're going in opposite directions. So did we go to the left more or did we go to the right more? We went to the right more, which means this is going to be a positive answer because we went further to the right. So how much further did we go? So in our brain, we're thinking, well, what's 9 minus 7? And that's a 2. When we find the difference, we figure out how much larger one of the numbers is than the other. For number 10, if we have a -2 and a +12, the -2's to the left, the +12 would be to the right. So that again is saying I went to the left 2, but I went to the right 12. I went to the right more than I went to the left. So that means I'm going to have a positive answer. Then I need to think to myself. So if I went to the left only 2, but to the right 12, how many more spaces did I go to the right? That's asking myself, what's 12 minus 2? And that is a 10. Now, while we're doing all of those problems, sometimes you'll come across problems that have 2 signs in the middle. If you do so, the first step is to rewrite them so there's only 1 sign in the middle. So for number 11, if you'll notice, in the middle, it says minus a negative. So we need to rewrite that with only 1 sign. So minus and a negative, 2 negatives make a positive. You can also think of subtracting the opposite. So instead of going to the left, do the opposite, which is going to the right. Those 2 are just going to make a plus sign. So 2 negatives make a positive. So I now have a -4, which means a left number, and a +17, which is a right number. So if I went to the right more, my answer is going to be a positive. And how many more times did I go to the right? Well, 17 minus 4 is 13. Number 12, very similar. 2 negatives make a positive. So this becomes 11 plus 9. Well, this problem, we have an 11 and we have a +9. These are both right numbers. This is very similar to problems you've done a lot of times. So don't forget your basic like positive plus a positive. 11 plus 9, we got 20. So we know that one. We got that one. Okay, number 13. So we have plus a negative. So plus means going to the right, but all of a sudden we're doing the opposite and going to the left. This really just becomes 12 minus 17. As you get higher in math, you want to have the least amount of symbols and numbers as possible. So we don't like those 2 in the middle. So we have a 12, which is a right number. And we have a -17, which is a left number. So we went to the left more, so our answer is going to be negative. So how many more times did we go? The difference between 12 and 17 is 5. So that's a -5. Similarly with this one, a positive and a negative, that just becomes a -22. So we have a -8, which is a left number, and a -22, which is also a left number. So we went to the left 8, we went to the left 22 more, we went to the left a total of 30 spaces. So we're able to just combine those together. Okay, so here's what you're going to do for each problem. First, if there are two signs in the middle, you're going to rewrite it as one sign. So if you see plus a negative, that's just going to become a minus sign. If you see minus a negative, that's just going to become a plus sign. That's how you're going to rewrite it, as just one sign. Then you are going to box the two terms. You need to know what are your two terms. Then you're going to add if they have the same direction or sign. So if they're both left, you're just going to add them together and the answer is negative. If they're right, you're going to add them together and the answer is positive. So you keep the sign. So that would be a problem like -3 minus 4, because they have the same sign and we say they're both negative, they're both to the left, their answer is negative, and 3 plus 4 is 7. You're going to subtract them if the directions or signs are different. So that would be something like 4 minus 10. So we would have a +4 and a -10. Those are different directions. 4 is to the right, but 10's to the left. So what you're going to do is you're going to subtract them. And just think in your head larger number minus smaller number so you can figure out your subtraction. So for this problem in my brain, I would think what's 10 minus 4, which is 6. And then you're going to keep the sign of like the larger number, essentially the one that has the most direction. So since there are more to the left, since 10 has more numbers going to the left, your answer is going to be a -6. So we're going to practice just a couple more. I would like you to pause really quickly and try these 4 on your own. Once you've tried those 4, talk to the people right next to you and see if y'all agree with and have the same answers. Then you're going to come on back and I'm going to show you how to do those. So pause this really quickly. Try these 4. Okay, hopefully you paused it and hopefully you've tried them. Maybe talk to the people right next to you, see if you all agree with each other, see what you got. So let me show you what should have happened. If anything needs to be fixed, this is a great time to fix it. That's why we do math. We try it again if we're not sure or if we didn't get the right answer the first time. Okay, so hopefully you boxed your answers. So I'm going to box my 2. I'm going to notice that one's a positive and one's a negative. So they're different signs, which also means they're different directions because one's a right and one's a left. So that's going to be the subtraction part of my notes. So if I subtract 20 and 23, or 23 minus 20, I'm going to get 3. But then I'm going to keep the sign of the larger direction. So since there's more negatives, our answer is -3. So hopefully you got a -3 also. Number 16, hopefully you boxed -8, -7, and then notice that both of them are negative, or both of them go to the left, and 8 and 7, we're going to add those together, and we're going to get a 15, but since they're both negative, we're going to make it a negative. And our last 2 problems, so let's see how we did on those 2. So I have 2 signs in the middle. I'm going to change that to 1 sign. I'm going to make that minus a 13 because plus a negative is the same as just a minus. So if I do my boxing, I have -11 and -13. Those are both left numbers because they're negative. So since they're the same direction, the same sign, I can add them together. So 11 plus 13 is what I'm thinking, and I'm going to get 24. And since I noticed they're both negative, the answer is a -24. Then I have another, oh, you know what? You probably did that problem. That's awesome, but I did actually want to change that. So we're going to add one more problem in just a second. Okay, plus a negative is the same as just a -18. So we're going to have a 15 and a -18. So 15 goes to the right because it's positive, and 18 goes to the left because it's negative. So again, you're going to say, hey, those are in the opposite directions. Those are opposite signs. I am going to subtract them. And in your head, you're going to think, what's 18 minus 15, which is 3. And since the 18 has more, it's going to be a negative number. Okay, one more bonus problem. I just want you to think real quickly. So if I was going to do something like 15 minus negative 2, 15 minus negative 2. I want you to think about it really quickly. Minus a negative. Tell the person next to you, what does minus a negative become? What does a minus a negative become? Tell the person next to you. Hopefully you said plus. Two negatives make a positive. And in this problem, we have a 15 and we have a positive 2. So those are both right numbers. They're both positives. So that's going to be a 17 because I add them together. Okay, so I want to see the boxing. If you don't do the arrows, that's fine, but I want to see the boxing. When you do these problems, I want you to see that you have the minuses, the pluses or minuses, and getting your answers. Now, the very, very last thing I want to tell you is that when you're doing these problems on your worksheet, you're going to see some parentheses. So for instance, on number 18, you might actually see on the assignment something that says 15 plus, and in parentheses, negative 18. It's the same exact problem. The reason that they put the negative there is because it's typed on the computer and they want you to see that the plus and the minus sign are separate. So you can ignore those parentheses. On number 17 on your typed paper, you might see something like negative 11 plus, and in parentheses, negative 13. So if the parentheses being there bugs you, which it kind of does me, rewrite it without the parentheses. It's the same thing. So the parentheses aren't doing anything new. They're just separating the signs, especially if there's two negatives. Like on this problem, they would probably have 15 minus, and in the parentheses a negative 2. It's the same problem. So do not worry about the parentheses. You can ignore them. So you're going to be working on rewriting two symbols in the middle as one. You're going to box them. You're going to answer them. And then the next assignment, we're going to take our knowledge of adding and subtracting integers, and we're going to apply it to things with variables. Okay, have a great rest of your day, and I hope you do well.